Welcome to the Trusted Podcast with your host, Blake Johnson. In each episode, Blake interviews professionals in different areas of life that you need a trusted source of information, including trust and estate planning. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, trustedepa.com. Now, here's the host of Trusted Podcast, Blake Johnson.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Trusted Podcast. Good to be back with you today. Our guest today is Morgan Fashtchi. She is an estate planning attorney with our firm, Trusted Estate Planning Attorneys. And we're going to be talking about family businesses and some of the nuances there. So excited for it. It's going to be a fun time. Morgan, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Blake. Great to be here.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your journey and how did you end up here at Trusted and kind of what makes you qualified to be talking about family businesses today?
Well, journey here, I started out when I was in law school in the district attorney's office. Honestly, I like to focus in on the major fraud aspect, which did incorporate dealing with a lot of businesses, and then ended up in the personal injury field for a little bit, but I became understanding in litigation, and then I moved over to in-house, where I dealt with a family business and a developer, dealt with a lot of trust, and we had a lot of different business aspects and questions and issues that came up all the time. So eventually I wanted to kind of change my pace a little bit, get a little bit more of a different side of the law by drafting things and helping people organize what they have instead of working through what they already have. So moving over to Trusted was a great transition, but the background of what I did before kind of made it an easy one. Why I'm qualified for businesses? Well, I've worked with a bunch of different businesses that just even one developer had. My family has many businesses as well. I have a little nonprofit on the side, so understand quite a bit about different businesses, how they work, and how family dynamics affect those businesses. So,
well, I always like to get to know people outside of work because I think that's gives a different element to it. So, what do you like to do outside of work, and what's something interesting about you that most people wouldn't know?
Well, I like to go shopping. I like dogs. I have a little dog page, so I like to create little contests and host different events where we actually get a lot of endorsements or like people promoting it. We actually support a lot of small businesses, so get to create a lot of good relationships within the community. The thing that you probably wouldn't know is I really enjoy and want to even become more of ninja-like. So I do Tai Chi, different elements of kickboxing and those kind of things, and really try to study that kind of lifestyle.
Okay, so yeah, watch out! Don't attack Morgan. Okay, tell me why you do what you do. You have the qualifications and all that, but what's the why behind it?
I like to help people. The law, there's obviously so many fields you can be in, but what you do realize is that every aspect of business, every aspect of life has a beginning and has an end. So you have a lot of rug pulls while you're living your life, things that you don't expect. But when you can plan a little bit for those aspects, even the unknowns, it does help people with organization, ease of mind. Sometimes you're the mediator So it kind of does give a center for people. So I really enjoy also the creativity of helping people solve potential problems in the future or current problems they're currently dealing with, whether it's relationship or business, aspect of operations or whatnot.
Awesome. Okay, so I like to start with kind of the bad. So, what are three myths, or not necessarily three? What is the biggest myths or misunderstandings in the area of family business that you see going on?
So, in family business, I would say number one myth would be that sometimes people think that you have to have a lot of money to create a business. I would say that sometimes there's not formalization of an existing business. Maybe they're using their name, and that tends to become a problem later down the road, particularly as you're growing. Um, Formalization is something that everyone that's conducting a business probably should look into, talk with an attorney about, and get more information so that they know how to protect themselves. So I would say that's number one, is you don't have to be rich to have a formalization of your business. Number two, I would say would be the fact that probably that you can't get sued personally if you have a formalized business. Sometimes people think they can act any which way, and because they maybe have a limited liability company that they're protected, or because even if they haven't personally involved themselves in whatever they're getting sued about, that maybe um, they're not gonna they're gonna be formally protected just from having a limited liability company. People don't know that where you organize your limited liability company or your business affects your liability. Sometimes having more than one owner is also going to give you that extra protection. So things to look out for. It's not just you set up an organization and you're blanket protected. You got to look into how the structure is. Number three, I would say, is that you don't need an operating agreement or some sort of bylaws of how to conduct your business. Sometimes people will go forward, and especially if there's partners, you're acting based on understandings, but you haven't formalized it in a writing. Down the road, it's 5 years past, and now you have all these people interpreting your initial conversations differently. You have nothing to show for. You don't know what to do. You're kind of in a conundrum of a mess. And it's harder to fix those kind of things instead of just planning it out to begin with. Maybe it's more simple. Maybe you need to update it later, but at least you have a starting point.
Yeah, having been in a family business, as partners with my dad, it definitely is key to get everything in writing ahead of time, because everybody's happiest. It's just like same thing with the marriage. Everybody's happiest at the beginning. Hey, we're going to start this new journey. It's going to be awesome. Only good things are going to happen. And then, stuff happens down the road. And, their perspective or view of things changes. And so, no, we said this. Okay, well, do we have any writing of that, or did we agree to that? And having those agreements in place definitely are key. The saying all the time in the legal field is you can either pay us a little now or a lot later. Mm-hmm. It's definitely applicable in business relationships.
Yeah, because that recall, it's self-serving often, right? You're going to remember your best interest in that. So it's better to just have it's in writing. Maybe you could make a claim you didn't understand it, but you agreed to it. You had time to review it. So there it is.
What's something particularly unique to being in a family business? Because a lot of times, if it's business partners, they don't feel necessarily they feel like they can sort things out because they can have harder conversations because it is not family. Mm-hmm. So is there anything in particular unique to a family business that's not necessarily the same true with other partners that you feel like impacts those things more?
Yeah, so a lot of family businesses, you're going to see each other at the holiday dinner party. You're going to see each other on the weekends. You're going to have a relationship outside. So sometimes people don't want to have the tough conversations because you're trying to save face, or you're trying to protect the other person's feelings. You don't want to look at the bad guy. You don't want the whole family being involved, because now you're dealing with one family member, but now automatically, the grandparent, the second cousin, everyone's heard about it by the time you walked into the door. So there is different things, different pressures. It is more of a white kid glove scenario, potentially. I mean, everyone does have those feelings and whatnot, but when you have a relationship that extends beyond just business, it does get complicated with emotions.
Yeah, I think that speaks more to the reason why you would want a professional to help direct those conversations, because then it's not coming from necessarily you as the family member. It's, hey, I'm the attorney. I need this information. So have you guys talked about this? Let's have this conversation here. And it's them pulling it out instead of them being at each other, or feeling like it's one of the other people that's forcing or driving it. Having that third party can have a big impact, I feel like.
Yeah, especially when sometimes there are dynamics where there's one person that tends to, in other relationships, like the familiar family relationship, you may have more of a power position. You're the father or you're the older brother. And so you expect maybe that in business it will reflect those powers as well. And having someone, having an operating agreement that says, how things operate actually and who's making those decisions or who has final say or voting power. Those are things that you're going to really want, so that when it comes down to it, not the tallest person in the room or the oldest person in the room, you feel like they've won already. You got to know your powers as anybody in the relationship for a business.
Perfect. All right. What changes do you see happening in the near future in family businesses, or the legal aspect of that? We'll start with that.
Well, there's always laws changing, so that does affect the dynamics with maybe the exemption for taxes even changing. It could change where the parents that are planning on, giving their kids the business, they might start early and divesting some of the shares to their kid to lower estate values, to protect from estate taxes. As laws change, we have the BOI reports now. We don't know what's coming forward with more and more reporting requirements, so that could be stuff. And just in general, the changing of, who's in charge when someone's leaving the business, say, before they die, they want to step out. There are issues, and there are, I believe, a lot of bigger businesses that are, started by the family, that there's going to be some changing of the executives or the heads of those families, and it seems like it's going to be sometimes interfamily. So
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stats out there. Don't know which one is the accurate one, but about how much wealth is going to change hands as the baby boomers start to retire or pass away. And so, yeah, there's going to be probably a lot more family businesses transitioning than ever before. And I think that causes changes in and of itself, because you have things changing hands. And so does that lead to more problems? Does it lead to any of that stuff? It's yet to be seen, but it should be an interesting time. And it just once again speaks to the fact of you should have a professional to talk to about that succession plan. If you could change anything in your field, what would that change be and why?
Well, I would say that just generationally, the way people think are very different. And so what is difficult to see when you're sort of the mediator in certain instances where everyone's coming to you, is that each side has a good point. However, there is maybe a miscommunication regarding communication styles to where they don't understand each other, or how you used to do it, maybe not fruitful for how things are currently or in the future going to work. So I would say that it's hard to watch miscommunications when everyone ultimately has the same goal. It's hard also when people don't want to take the time to go see the professionals. Maybe they think that, they don't want to pay that extra, cost of fee, or, they feel like they can handle it themselves. Something that's a little difficult is that sometimes when they do realize it, it's a little too late, or it's really costly now, or you can't be helped, you got to go to court, so too little, too late's a little hard to watch, as well as just miscommunications when everyone agrees, actually.
Gotcha. So yeah, what I got from that is come in, plan early, do pay for it, and then have someone to speak to and have those conversations, because that's, I agree. I've experienced that with some of my clients, or even personally, where the other generation does not want to talk about what they have, what the business is worth, or even that kind of stuff, or who's going to get it, because everything's been so private for so long, and having that open dialogue can make a huge difference there. All right, what do people need to do in order to prep for a meeting with a professional like you? What are the things you'd like to see them have done prior to coming in for the meeting?
It would be really helpful if people knew what they were the answers they're looking to find when they come in. Sometimes people will just throw a laundry list of questions at you, maybe information they've read on the internet. They may have the attitude that they already know exactly everything because they've done their research, but they don't actually know why they're sitting there. So having a clear goal is really helpful. And even if you don't know exactly what you want or need, just kind of being able to describe what your vision is can help me guide you through, what the process is you might want to look into. Having the decision makers there is also really helpful, because the telephone game doesn't really work with respect to me telling you something, then you have to go tell this other person, and then this person's got questions asking this person that I'm meeting with. It's very difficult. It drags out the process. Oftentimes, the information is not actually being disseminated correctly from me. So it's helpful when everyone's there or can be present during a phone call or something like that. Preferably, though, I'd like to see you also bring your documents that you feel are valid to the meeting, having that information so that we can not have a holdup or refer back, especially if you are having time crunches. Oftentimes there's people, they want things done quickly, but they don't have the information and they delay getting it to me, and it makes it very difficult to reach the ultimate goal that they want.
Perfect. So yeah, not a ton of work. It's just, hey, show up with the right people and at least have had a discussion ahead of time.
Right.
Okay, what's the best advice you've been given about family businesses that you'd want to pass on to the average consumer?
Get it in writing. I have a lot of watching from the side, sometimes involved, and people are relying on things, and then one party goes, "Where's it in writing?" And it's painful to watch. It's better to just get it done. Maybe it's uncomfortable, maybe there's a power shift, maybe this or that. Get a representative, to sit with you or to do it for you and be the bad guy, because we're used to being bad guys anyways as attorneys.
Yeah, I mean that's what we're here for, is to be that bad guy, deliver the bad news, or have those hard conversations. So yeah, utilize your attorney for that information. All right. Anything else you want to add about family businesses, or anything we talked about today that would be helpful?
I would say that beware of social media when it comes to getting your advice for legal, let alone business. There's so much more than what's marketed, and social media is a marketing tool at this point. So you want to really make sure you're going and checking up on this information before you act on it. Talk to your, hopefully you have a CPA, talk to that person, talk to your advisor, get an attorney that you feel comfortable with, because hopefully that's going to be a long relationship that you're going to have with that attorney. And, you want to make sure that there's that rapport, that you understand each other, that you can trust each other, because all relationships, including attorneys and their clients, you have to trust each other. So, make sure you have all those things when you're moving forward. It's going to make your life, maybe in the beginning, it's scary, you got to get this together, you have to make this decision. But at the end of it, 5 years from now, you're going to look back and go, wow, am I so glad that I got this done. I got it done correctly. I, overcame all of my fears, and I really planned for this, even though I never expected it to happen.
Great. Love it. Okay. Well, I appreciate you being on the show today, giving us that wonderful information about family businesses. So for listeners out there, if you have a family business and have questions about, what that looks like, the dynamic, what the succession plan is, or how to do that, Morgan's a great resource for you. But really, talk to a business attorney that can help you with that knows those things. That's the one of the point of the podcast, is to show you the experts that you need, who can help guide you through those situations. So thank you for listening in today. Hopefully you found it helpful, and we'll be back with more people who are trusted experts in their fields and can help guide you in that direction. So we'll see you next time.
You've been listening in to the Trusted Podcast with your host, Blake Johnson. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, trustedepa.com. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others. Please subscribe to make sure you are notified each time a new episode is released each week.